Okay, well, welcome, Lisa. And I'm sure, as Steve mentioned, all of you guys kind of know the story behind this and what happened. But it's still affecting you guys. Your numbers are amazing. Up, what, 34% in Q4?
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
I think we know what sort of had something to do with that. So talk about that and how the ripple effect is sort of, taking effect right now for you.
Yeah. So luckily we reported numbers, so I can talk about that 34%. And that was company-wide. In the U.S., we were almost 38% up, which is, as most of you guys know, absolutely unheard of. And that being one of those months of that quarter, we were still sold out of chicken sandwich. So for 2 months of the quarter, having chicken sandwich and to show those numbers is just absolutely incredible.
Well, for those who may have been under a rock, maybe give a little background, or tell me about just that day and just how this phenomenon first sort of started.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a WhatsApp stream for you guys. If you don't use WhatsApp, we have people have Androids and iPhones, so WhatsApp kind of usually works for everybody. So we have our stream with our agency, our lawyer, our whole team, our PR agency, our creatives, our agency GSD&M, everyone from writers, creatives, our account people are all on there, and we kind of put this in place because we knew we really wanted to get into social. We wanted to have a better presence than we had. We hadn't, really done a lot on social and even organic. We were like, we need to do a better job. So we had a few social summits and put this in place and said, let's have.
This is all we want to know this because this is how you move forward. But what happened?
Okay, so we have this WhatsApp stream, and our agency said, hey, we've got this opportunity. Chick-fil-A posted this. So Chick-fil-A posted on Twitter a little nudge at us as we had launched the chicken sandwich that, don't forget about the original bun, pickles, chicken, all the love for the original. So they brought that to us, and they brought some copy options. We're all on this text stream, and we picked the least aggressive. We were a little nervous to go after Chick-fil-A,
the big guys.
Yep. It had, been some internal conversation, and we were just like, we're comfortable with it in the right moment, and that was the right moment. So they gave us some copy options. Legal was on there. We made some tweaks, and we pulled the trigger. And then we just sat and refreshed our phones over and over and over and watched the thousands and thousands and thousands of responses. And overnight, we just kept doubling sales. We'd be like, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, we sold more than we forecasted for. And then the next day it would go up. And we're like, if this keeps going up, we're not going to be okay. Right. And it kept going up, and it kept going up. And so
let me just stop you there. So at this point, because there are lines out the doors, okay,
yes.
all day for hours, and you're seeing this, you're seeing the sales, you're knowing what your inventory is. Are you now getting into play? Are you all sort of just like, oh my gosh, or is there everyone jumping forward, all right, what do we need to do moving forward? Yeah,
so it was a strange time of the most exciting, thing that had happened in most of our careers, but also we're looking at supply, and we're going, and we way over forecasted. We tested in market, we added more markets to the test, and then we even went above that to say we are going to be fine. We have more than enough supply. And as we started to watch it, we're like, this is amazing, but this is about to be a big problem if these numbers don't go down. So we watched them every day, and they continued to climb. So internally, we got to a point that we had to make a decision. Do we continue to have a little bit of supply trickle in and make people mad at our stores every single day when they get up to the line and we've sold out? Or we stop, regroup, get more suppliers. We more than doubled our number of chicken suppliers, and get ready properly to relaunch, which was a scary thing because there's no guarantee that those customers are coming back. It could have been, this was our shot. We had our chance for them to come in. We made them mad. We're old news. It's on to the next thing. So it was a very difficult decision for people way above my pay grade, but it ended up working out well for us. But yeah, it was not a secret marketing ploy. It wasn't planned all along. We just had to kind of roll with the punches.
Well, before we get into why that was able to work for you guys, you have a video?
Yeah, I have a fun little recap.
The only story that matters right now is the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
There's a craze, full-on craze. Some people in Florida have been waiting in line over an hour.
The drive-thru for Popeyes.
It's like we getting in the club.
All that Twitter was debating was who had the better chicken sandwich.
A surprise attack on Chick-fil-A. It's like Pearl Harbor, but juicier.
Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A. The country went bananas. It was like the biggest story of the summer.
Yeah.
This chicken sandwich is so big, CNN put the chicken full screen and put the hurricane down in the corner.
Let's just do it, shall we? Cheers. Oh my God.
Wow. Hold up, girl.
Oh my God.
This is a good ass sandwich. Thumbs up. That thing got some flavor.
Look at you looking all special.
The chicken sandwich was so good that I was crying.
It's Popeyes all the way.
Chick-fil-A, man. Sorry, man, but I just found a better chicken sandwich.
That's a chicken sandwich from Popeyes!
Got the thing going 1,000 of chicken, 1,000 of really lives up to the hype. Popeyes and Bravo.
One of the top 5 coolest moments. Oh, yeah! You know what this is?
Yeah, they done came through.
Popeyes chicken sandwiches are sold out, okay? I'm not gonna get over that.
The crispy chicken sandwich was so popular, it's now out of stock.
So I just drove to another one and it's sold out.
We're sold out of chicken sandwich. We sold out in 4 hours.
No sandwiches until tomorrow, bro. They stopped selling the Popeye chicken sandwich.
But I can promise all Americans that you will get a chicken sandwich.
By unanimous decision, the new chicken sandwich champion of the world, Popeye!
That's awesome. You couldn't ask for anything better.
No.
But it's really, if you think about it, the success of your sandwich, aside from once they had it, obviously it had to pay off, but was kind of Chick-fil-A. They created this, storm of people wanting to try out your chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, because like I touched on a little bit, we had obviously talked about, Chick-fil-A and the comparisons being made, but I don't think we were really ready to go there yet. We weren't ready to pull the trigger. We aren't our personality and voice is not to be like a bully or an instigator, so it really couldn't have worked out better. We were sitting on that going, when if ever do we say something about them or to them, and they just kind of laid it at our feet, and it could not have worked out better.
No, and so tell us, because as you said, you didn't know how to move forward, and even just in terms of the response that you guys did on Twitter to Chick-fil-A, sometimes, there's so many, you have to deal with legal, you have to deal with creative, there's so many, kind of cooks, no pun intended, but in the kitchen. How did you manage that? So what do you credit for being able to sort of make it run smoothly and the transition go well?
Yeah, I think the way that our company is run, the way that we are all collaborative, like I said, we're all on, not many companies, none I ever worked at, are you on a stream with the CMOs and head of marketing and legal and everybody. I think just the open communication and planning, without knowing for something big like this, is that we had that open communication and all the trust within our team, the trust in our vendors, our agency GSD&M, our PR agency ABMC, to really say what's the best way to go after this, what's the best way to do this, what do we think the response is going to be, and just having that freedom to pull the trigger and do that without it being a meeting and it getting buried in emails and then we miss the opportunity. So from the time that Chick-fil-A tweeted, about 11:15 in the morning, the agency brought it to us. We talked about copy, made some tweaks, and responded was less than 3 hours. And so for that to be able to happen and not pass up the opportunity, had it gone to the next day and someone else responded before us, if Wendy's had jumped in before us, they jumped in after, it could have played out very differently. So I think just having that structure and openness and collaboration within our team and with our vendors is really what allowed everything to happen so quickly and be so successful.
Yeah, and I just want to read from your CEO from Restaurant Brands International, which owns Popeyes, and he basically said that the media impressions you earned proved to be more valuable than anything Popeye could do with its ad budget. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so, and you saw some numbers in the clip here, and this was actually for convention. So this is before relaunch. So we ended up having to pull our traditional media. When we knew we were going to sell out, we were going to have to make the decision to announce to our customers that we were sold out for a time. We had this huge media campaign planned. You know, we had a great commercial, we had tested it. It was the highest spot we had ever tested. We were just really excited about how it would perform. And we said, we literally can't drive another human to our stores. So how are we going to keep people engaged, interested in the story, keep them wondering until we bring it back? So we really shifted from our traditional media buy to just organic social. We used that to tell people we're sold out. We used that to tell people when we're gonna be back. And so it was very different for us. And it was a very strange problem to have, to say, I can't bring one more person to our stores because our stores can't handle it, and we don't have the product that we want. And so I can't go into numbers of what our spend normally is, but our earned media was about three times that. We had 21 billion impressions for the year, and that's, you know, really the back half of the year, just about chicken sandwich. And so it's, yeah, that tweet just printed money for us.
And obviously it also, in turn, I mean, the chicken sandwich was what everyone was looking for, but other products were being sold out as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what people, you know, don't think about. They're like, oh, the chicken sandwich is sold out. But those kind of volumes, I mean, we were out of all kinds of stuff, and you would just have to wait. A store, you think, gets 1 to 3 trucks a week, and so they might be out of straws or cup lids or, you know, the sandwich wrappers. There was just a variety of stuff that you can't plan for if you don't know that those kind of volumes are coming. So
this is what I love what you guys did in order to, because I mean, it's a scary, as you were talking about a little bit earlier, how do we get rid of this, like the momentum? We don't want to stop the momentum, but at the same point, you don't want the momentum to be, you know, all angry customers coming forward. So you guys had really unique ways of kind of keeping this going. And do we want to show first? Do you want to mention? Or?
I'll give a little mention, and then I'll show the sold out video and the promotion. So we said we have to keep people interested. We tried to do some posts on social, and no one cared about anything if it wasn't about the sandwich. We tried to talk about something else or an LTO that's there, and they said, right, but when is the sandwich coming back? So we said we have to keep people interested in this, but we don't have a sandwich to give them. And we are actually inspired by some customers were coming in. If a store happened to be out of bread but had the fillets, they were bringing their own bread. They were showing up with a, you know, bag of Wonder Bread or hamburger buns. And so our agency was inspired by that, and we made a promotion that was not a promotion. We also couldn't have a discount. Why would we discount? We have more people in our restaurants than we've ever seen. So we kind of had a spoof offer. It was no discount, nothing different. It was BYOB, bring your own bun. So you come in, order 3 tenders, and you make yourself a sandwich. Kind of a spoof, no operational complexity, no discounting. So we used really untraditional methods. We had to get very creative. And I'll show you, we also use social media to talk about this because we had canceled all of our media. So we used this to push out our sold out message and also this spoof promotion.
And the lines are crazy still till like 5 in the morning.
Headlines wrapped all around the corner.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
When you get like 5 million people, 6 million people on social media talking about this sandwich is good.
What? No.
We're sold out of chicken sandwich. We sold out in 4 hours. Love that chicken from Popeyes.
That's great. I love the way you connected it with the app as well. That's very smart to get more engagement.
Had our app team, and they have had their own goals for the year, and we're like, what a perfect opportunity to get downloads. Be the first one to know when we're bringing it back. So we added that in there to try to get downloads for our app that we just launched last year. So it was kind of.
Did you see results with that?
Yes, we did. Yeah, I mean, people wanted to be the first ones to know. I mean, it was kind of, again, a perfect thing. All of this made it seem like, oh, they planned this all along, but we were like, hey, you guys need downloads and percentage of sales for digital, so let's go ahead and have that be the way that we announce to people, again, because we weren't using traditional, media to talk to our customers at this point. Let's look at the BYOB.
It's just 3 tenders.
But that's already on the menu.
And I have to bring my own bun.
What the f? Seriously, when are you getting the sandwich, though? Okay.
That's great. So now, in terms of doing this, obviously the whole goal was to just keep the momentum going, keep people interested. How is this working for you guys? Were you able to gauge that?
Yeah, it was amazing. We kept thinking like, oh, media's not going to pick this up, and it's just every time we release something, we got another billion or two, impressions earned media, and it was just like outlets that would never pick up stories. I mean, we had Forbes, you have, New Yorker, everything that you would be like, they're never going to write an article, they could not get enough. Anything we would put out, we'd get articles written about it. So it worked great. It kept people engaged, whether they were mad about it or thought it was funny, it kept them interested. It kept them wanting more and wanting to know what was next.
And well, that's another thing. The people who were mad, like, you needed to make them happy again. You needed to keep them as happy customers. Was that, again, part of the plan that, as you said, social wasn't necessarily always a big factor in your...
Yeah, and I mean, we, just like you saw the video, our main thing was to be appreciative of what had happened. Thank the customers, knowing, people are going to look at this and going, oh, you made all this money and you're sold out, and, this wasn't the intent. But we made sure all of our messaging, was very appreciative of our consumers, appreciative of our, crew and staff. There was a certain point where we just stopped doing celebrity requests, because we got to a point where we have announced, to the country that we are sold out. And yes, can we scramble and find a couple sandwiches in a store? Yes, but we wanted to be appreciative to our day-to-day customers and not be like, oh yeah, we are telling you we're sold out, but we're not really. So at a point we said, we're getting these wonderful requests, huge celebrities, and we started making a after relaunch celebrity list, which again, you're so excited, you're caught up in the hype, you're like, no, we want to deliver, we can do it. But we had to say, what's the overall perception if we do that? From our bread and butter day-to-day customers, you have to say that's not the right thing to do. And so at one point we stopped. We said, we're not doing these celebrity things. When there was violence, we went quiet on social for a while. It wasn't the time, wasn't appropriate, and we just had to keep that in mind. We could let it go to our heads and really just make some wrong decisions. But I think we kept ourselves level-headed and did things like that weren't necessarily the business decision to make, because we could have got even more impressions, we could have got more coverage, but we needed to make sure that we were really appreciative to the people that were standing in line for an hour at stores.
Well, you wanted to get the right impressions, but also for those who think it was a ploy, or for others who do, there's really a lot that went into this, to creating this sandwich, and this is even your first sandwich, Popeye's first sandwich. So talk about that a little bit to show, because the time for the relaunch, you had to put a lot of things in place, and you had to sort of come up with a date of the relaunch, but again, that could have been iffy. So why can we believe you that it wasn't just, you trying to make the anticipation?
Yeah. Well, so we do any new product, any limited time offer, LTO product, we test and market. And this was a huge launch for us because it was a permanent product. It wasn't something was going in for a month or 2 months and coming out. So we did extensive tests. We had started testing back in November of the previous year. We added more markets. We had slow roll where we brought markets on. And we forecasted really aggressively over what these were averaging. And so to give you perspective without talking about AUVs and actual number of sandwiches, we went through 8 weeks of inventory in 2 weeks. And really in 1 week, because we were great, we were under projections that first week until that tweet. And then that week, basically we sold through 8 weeks of inventory. And people think, oh, it's just a marketing ploy. Why don't they just, they're a chicken place. You can't run out of chicken. But there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. You know, we had to go and find twice as many poultry producers. You have to find someone that has the right size chicken, that can cut this size, that it's the perfect weight, that we're not going to compromise, the sandwich. We could have just said, give us anything you got, we'll take it. But we also knew, like, people have to have the same experience. They have to have the product the way we intended it to be. And so it took time, and we didn't know exactly when we'd be able to get that inventory up. We had an idea our agency had pitched when we weren't quite sure when we were gonna lean into Chick-fil-A. We had said, we're gonna celebrate National Sandwich Day that happens to be on a Sunday this year because Chick-fil-A's closed. And so we were like, okay, that's November 2nd. Could we make that happen? And so that was kind of the goal we all had in mind. Supply chain, our chefs, can we make that happen? Can we get supply up in time? So that was kind of the goal, and we went forward planning with that, but we knew, like everything else since the sandwich came out, that could change too, and we might have to change our plans, and that wouldn't work out. But it did, and we were able to come back, with a Open Sundays campaign, so it all worked out. But it was a lot of holding our breath and finger crossing, during that time, and hoping that the momentum was still there. Because people very well, like I said, could have had that one shot. Oh, I tried to get it. The lines were too long. Whatever. I'm moving on to the next QSR thing. But luckily for us, we kept people engaged. We kept them wanting more, and we were more successful when we came back.
Well, when you came with the relaunch, you did your launch very differently from any time any Popeyes has done in the past. And
yes,
talk about that. And it was very strategic. And as you said, choosing to do it on a Sunday, but even in Times Square, the billboards, like all of that, like it's like your old media plan went out the window.
Yes.
And this became a whole new animal. Talk about that.
We had never done national out of home, billboards or anything like that. And we had changed our media, so we'd cancel our media. So we had funds that we would have never said, oh, let's spend the money to put billboards up in Times Square. But that's how we changed it, because we said we've got to have different ways of getting the message across to people. And that was a really cool way that we did it. We did the back cover of all the major newspapers, also announcing that, we just said Open Sundays. We had a video on social showing an employee putting Open Sundays up on the highway sign next to a Chick-fil-A that said Closed Sundays. So very different for us. We just, we really used our agencies, our media buying agency, to put these plans and suggestions together for us. And it was really exciting, but also really scary, because we sure didn't have, past results to look at and say, oh yeah, that worked really great before. We were just like, hope it'll work this time. But yeah, we definitely used not our traditional media that we ever had. We had always been, very high percentage of TV, and that worked for us. So yeah, it was exciting and scary to say, let's shift these dollars, and also production dollars. We're used to, we shoot food, we shoot the regular part of the commercial, and that's what we do. And we started making these videos for social, which we had never done before. We're like, is anyone gonna watch them? But people were watching, and they were ready for more content, and it turned out wonderful.
Well, I think that's a key lesson, that being able to just shift and do something, go out of your comfort zone, and following what the momentum is. And so social really became a big part of what was, driving your sales. And that's what you decided to just like throw your, follow their coattails kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And we had, this worked too, because we had our agency looking for these opportunities. And it wasn't that this is the first opportunity we saw. This one just caught. It's like you just have to keep at it. There's no, people want, how do we recreate this for our brand? You just keep looking for those opportunities, and then one explodes and people pick it up and then news outlets pick it up, so we had engaged in lots of opportunities like that, and just use our voice and be consistent in the type of things we're looking for, and that we want to join the conversation. We're very strategic and say we vet people's profile and make sure there's nothing that people are going to go, oh, they're associating with this person who did this, that, and the other. We're very cautious and had a plan of what kind of voice we wanted to have. So it's not like looking for that magic opportunity. It's just keep looking for those opportunities and keep joining conversations that, one of them could just get you 223 million in earned media.
Well,
Yeah.
and it sounds like traditional kind of just went out the window again, as we said. Like it's just, and that was your normal way of advertising.
Yes.
And then you just ditched it all?
Yeah, we just ditched it. We had very little we couldn't get rid of, so you might have seen a sprinkling of spots out there. But yeah, it was just when we said we're gonna have to cancel all of our media, because we weren't supposed to go on air until September 2nd, and we were already sold out. We announced we were sold out on the 27th, so it was like a little bit of, now what do we do? Never has anyone, probably in the whole building had to say, we have to cancel media because too many people are coming to the stores. Yeah.
Well, I know we don't have a lot more time, but obviously, everyone hopes lightning strikes for all of you guys, and that's not something that can never be predicted again for this year. But what can you take forward this year? What are you excited to take forward with this year that you learned from the last years and maybe have changed in terms of your media buys and what you're going to be focusing on?
Yeah, and I think, people are like, are you going to switch completely to social media? No, it's there. It's a tool. We could, shift dollars to paid media, but all of that was unpaid. It wasn't paid social ads. So, like, are we going to abandon TV? Like, no, but I think the biggest lesson is, being ready for change. Just, you can't necessarily plan for what's going to happen, but just be open to it and surround yourself by, team members and vendors that you all trust each other and your expertise, and that you're prepared to make these quick decisions is, I think, really what got us through this.
Well, I think we have time for questions here.
Yeah. Here's your opportunity to ask questions of one of the biggest QSR moments of the year.
Hey, Nosli Hermatic from Firehouse Subs. Again, congratulations on the incredible success. Two really quick questions. One is, I'm wondering if you have, or your agencies have any insight on how much Black Twitter played a role in the success, either in the initial launch or the relaunch. And then if you could just briefly tell us how internally you decided to bring the menu item back permanently, as opposed to sort of McRibbing it and bringing it back as an LTO that you bring back on a frequent cycle.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up. We had another presentation that our agency did that talked about Black Twitter, and we attribute a great amount of the success. That is how it took off. It could have just been a post that we answered Chick-fil-A and a couple people liked it, and that's it. But being entrenched in that subculture, we greatly attribute the success to Black Twitter. And then as far as the limited time, this was always intended. A lot of people asked me this during the conference, and you're so deep in it, you don't realize. A lot of people thought it was going to be an LTO and go away. We always planned on this being a permanent item. We said we're a chicken place. We need a chicken sandwich. We need to figure out a way to make it work. So it was always supposed to stay. It was, for us, harder to decide to pull it back for a little bit, because it was always supposed to be a permanent, new layer to our menu.
How did you, since when you're having lines like that at your stores, there's always runs the risk of negative incidents and and Black Friday moments that can go equally as viral. How were you prepared for that, and how were you dealing with any incidents that could happen when people got a little angry or people just got frustrated with each other at a site? Was there a policy for this, or was there a particular way of handling all that?
Not really policy. So almost all of our restaurants are franchise owned, so we definitely were in high communication during all of this with our stores with, recommendations on what to do with things like that, or just operational complexities and things like that. But just to, tell your crew member, because it's a high stress situation. You have people working double shifts, you have angry people, and just talk to them and say, hey, talk to your crew, try to give them more breaks, try to bring on and hire more people to, alleviate the stress. But we didn't really have, a policy. Just incidents happen, at our stores just like they do most stores all the time. So, if something got out of hand, of course, the law was called, you'd have the police come, but really no policy. Just trying to, give our employees, put them in the best situation, give them breaks, bring on more people so they're not, working in such a stressful environment.
Yeah, Adam with AdWallet. Great presentation. I was just thinking, it's interesting. Earlier in the event, we heard from Burger King, and their largest activation, one of the other largest activations this year was, frankly, bringing McDonald's into the conversation as far as making a U-turn, or whether it's, will the King ask Wendy's out to the prom, and in your case, obviously, will Chick-fil-A, basically picked a fight, with Popeyes and lost this round. And historically, brands have really shied away. They've always been very demure about talking about their competition, in any way, even to your point, you said really your personality or Popeye's personality was not, let's get out there and, let's just sort of stay in our lane. We're not out there to, talk about our competitor. But if you really look at even going back further in the last 5 years, some of the biggest marketing wins that engaged America, socially engaged, native, frankly, just organic, was suddenly a brand basically saying, this is the personality, this is who we are. If you were to anthropomortalize us versus our competitor, I'm not suggesting Firehouse go out and pick a fight with Subway, but honestly, it is interesting. I was just saying, that seems to sort of fit the human condition, where we want to think about these things almost as people. And since you had so much success with this, have you, as you move forward, you probably won't have lightning in a bottle, every year. Considering, all right, do you, when it makes sense, talk about your competitor in a smart, relevant, strategic way for the brand, and not always demur as a brand away from something like that?
Yeah, and it's definitely new for us. And I don't know if you know, RBI owns both Burger King and Popeyes, and so. Leadership and Fernando, many people know Fernando Machado, kind of gave us that confidence, and being strategic about it. It's not like don't go be a bully to be a bully. But I think being in this new company, we definitely have a new voice and a little bit, you get a little bit of swagger too from your consumers. We had talked about going after Chick-fil-A, or do we lean in? Do we bring them into the conversation? And really, I think we did, because we got the confidence from people, talking about it. We were seeing the comparisons. We were seeing the taste test, and we were seeing our customers, come to our aid and say like, hey, this is better than Chick-fil-A. So I think you have to be smart about it. I think you have to have, we had to have the product to back it up. If it wasn't a good product and we did that, we'd get annihilated, So I think there's a time and place, and I think it's like our culture now. You have TV shows where, it's more real life. You have the Real Housewives. People like a good competition. Some people like to root for the underdog. Some people don't. So I think there is more appetite for that. Companies are less corporate now and kind of taking on their own personality. So I think you'll see more of that from us. I think you'll see more of that from other brands.
Karen Willison with Epsilon. I just had a quick question, and fantastic story. It's probably one of the best I've ever heard. But so my question is, did anybody from Chick-fil-A call you and say touche? Has there been any conversation from Chick-fil-A?
Nothing from Chick-fil-A. I mean, we were actually shocked about the initial tweet, because that is, definitely not their culture to say something like that. People will be like, were you in cahoots? Did you get them, to tweet that so that you'd both have sales go up? Not at all. We were just as shocked as all of you that Chick-fil-A would kind of engage, another brand. So no contact with Chick-fil-A.
Still waiting to hear.
Yep.
Lisa and Lisa, thanks so much. That was a great story.
Thank you.